How would you like to stay on top of your family's memories while still saving time? This is what I'm going to teach you in today's video. Hey YouTube, this is Caroline Gunter from organizingphotos.net, and today I want to tell you all about the organized yearbook, how to save time and still tell your stories. I am so thrilled to be bringing this video to you. It's been a long time in the making, and it's a very popular topic with our readers. So let's jump right in. I love to create memories, and I also love to create projects around my memories. So today I want to share something with you that is a total game changer, and that is focusing on one project at a time. Yes, I promise you it can be done. Take it from me when I say that I know what it's like to have so many ideas that your head is bursting and you feel like you just can't get it out fast enough. You just sometimes don't have enough time in the day to do all the things that you want to do. So I know the struggle, I felt it, I deal with it all the time, but storytelling is something that we don't want to procrastinate on because it really is important for you, your family, and your descendants. So how can you save time and still tell your memories? Well, what has worked for me is to create an annual yearbook. And in today's video, I want to share some tips and tricks for how to do that in a quick and efficient way. So why would you make a yearbook? Why not just make a ton of shorter books for each event or milestone in your life? Well, I've already tried that, and it's actually more difficult to pull off because multitasking is your enemy. It decreases your productivity, and when you have a lot of smaller projects to pull off, it just hampers your progress. So what if 4 events happen in the same month? Well, that's 4 new books to make, right? Chances are you're not going to do all of them in one sitting, and then life will get in the way and you will fall behind on your to-do list. And then once things start piling up, you're going to feel guilty for underperforming. So a yearbook forces you to focus on only that one project during the whole year and just make the best of it. It's much easier to pick one great way to finish your family's memories for the year and just wrapping that up, rather than sitting with a gazillion of unfinished small projects that you're never going to get to. So a yearbook project is something that anyone, yes, even you, can achieve because you have a whole year to do it. And it will tell your family story in a very consistent way every single year. So how do you create so much content and still save time? Well, the key to that is using templates and repetition. Your content actually creates itself pretty easily, and you'll see that in the coming tip. All you have to do is really curate it and put it into your annual yearbook. So if you do that consistently, it's actually a breeze to put your yearbook together. And I have found that it's much harder to have a lot to say in a lot of little books rather than to just talk about your year as a whole. And on top of that, there are a ton of time-saving tips that I can give you that will help you put this project together much faster. So here are a couple of tips that have worked for me. Tip number 1, create a layout that you love and repurpose it. This is probably the biggest time-saving tip I can give you when it comes to creating photo books. If you have a layout that you absolutely love, just repurpose that year after year. Most photo book vendors will have an option for you to either duplicate your previous yearbook that you've made or favorite a particular layout that you can use over and over again. So even if there's no official duplicate, you can actually go in, make a duplicate of a previous book that you've made and edit the content of that. You might think that it'll be boring to kind of see the same layout over and over again. And at first I thought it would be too, but it actually hasn't bothered me one bit, and I'll tell you why. The reason is because your memories are different every single year. And so even if the layout's the same, the pictures actually make it look different. So you're actually never going to notice. It's not like you're going to compare book to book and be critical of yourself for having the same layout. No, just be okay with it. You're probably going to change your look, like your hair color or your haircut. Your kids are going to grow. You're going to move furniture around. Things are going to look different every single year. You're going to evolve as a human, so things are never going to look the same. It's always going to be the next thing, and that's amazing because that lets you use the same layout over and over again and not worry about it. Plus, it's always more important to focus on the stories than to worry about what layout you have. And if this trick helps you get stuff done, by all means use it. All right, so tip number 2 is to plan out your content. This is another huge time saver that actually helps you create with intent. It's a really good idea to map out your months and list all of the recurring events that take place every single year. And you're going to inevitably have a bunch of birthdays and holidays in your yearbook every single year. But you're also going to have separate events that are different from year to year. So it's never going to be the same exactly. And creating an outline like this actually lets you plan your yearbook up front and plan your content so that you're never going to have to scramble at the end of the year to find enough photos for your book. So take a look at the example that I have here. This is a simplified outline for my family's year. So in January, I have my wedding anniversary. In February, I never really know what's going on, to be honest. It's that New Year's slump, I think. In March, I have my daughter's birthday, and we usually take a trip because it's spring break time. In April, my husband has a birthday, and my dad has a birthday. And then in May, we have usually school graduation, right? When we get to June, usually there's a family reunion of some sort, and I travel a lot there. Same thing in July. August is back to school time. September is my birthday month. In October, I don't know what's going on, so that's another one of those spots where I'm going to have to think about my content more. But in November, we have my mom's birthday, Thanksgiving, and then, of course, Christmas and travel in December. So if you go ahead and do this for your family, you're going to see that you're going to have months where there's going to be plenty of photos to choose from, and you're going to have months that you don't have that much to choose from. So you can do one of two things. You can either spread those photos out a bit more, that's okay, or you can just make a conscious decision to photograph something fun in those months that are a little bit slower. So the moments are naturally going to happen, and we all take way too many photos anyway, so you just have to remember to favorite them and not let them slip away. You're going to use them in your book. My third tip is to design and upload your book as the year progresses. Because what happens is when we put stuff off, we actually create a little bit of a snowball for ourselves. So you want to make sure that you get your book done in time for Christmas, especially if you're going to give it as a gift. And you really don't want to spend your Christmas break doing all this stuff. So do a little bit every month. Space out your work. And there really isn't a better way to get stuff done than to break it down into manageable chunks. I actually recommend doing this at the end of each month because your newest photos are going to be fresh in your mind and you're going to remember all the details of the events that happened that month. Plus, if you also take that time to back up your photos, it's just an easier way to manage your photos overall. Just go ahead and add a few minutes to your memory management time and go ahead and plop those new photos into the yearbook, write a couple of sentences, and by the end of the year, all you have to do is press order. You'll be done. And wouldn't that be amazing to be able to do that consistently every year? I think so. My fourth tip is to count the number of horizontal and vertical photos that you need in your layout. And I know, math isn't that much fun, at least not in my opinion, but it's really not that complicated to do, and it really does help. So once you've set a layout that you like, take inventory of how many horizontal photos and how many vertical photos you need for each spread or category. So this is another one of those things that will help you create beautiful books with intent. So if you know beforehand that you need 3 horizontal photos for your Christmas spread every year, then it'll be a lot easier to actually remember to take those photos. And of course you can resize and crop photos, so you don't need to be that exact, but it really just lines up better if you know what you need ahead of time. And if you're the ambitious type, kind of like me, then you can make a checklist for that and just cross it off as you go. We all know that planning saves time, and it'll just be a lot easier for you to get stuff done if you know what you need right away. All right, so tip number 5, enlist your family members. Here's a wild idea for all you moms out there. You don't have to do it all by yourself. How about you enlist your kids and turn this into a really fun family project? School officials don't make yearbooks all by themselves, right? There's community input. So use your community for your yearbook. I know for a fact that anytime I ask my daughter to take photos and be involved in creative projects like this, she loves it. And it becomes a really cool bonding moment for both of us. And she's able to then contribute her best artwork, her favorite photos and memories. She can write some notes. It makes her feel included and valued as a member of our family. And the yearbook too will show her growth year after year, which is really special to have when they're all grown up, right? So it's really amazing to have all of that captured from her perspective. And then an added benefit is, of course, we get to spend more time together. And moms out there, don't forget to be in the photo once in a while. So often we're the photographers. Be sure that you let your kids take some photos of you and put those in there. Even if they're not the most flattering ones, it can still be super fun. All right, so tip number 6, get some professional photos taken, because every yearbook needs a cover photo. And having a beautiful family photo every single year will make your yearbook really amazing. And for all you moms out there, you can get dressed up and get a little pampered every now and then. So as long as you have the permission of the photographer, make sure to include some beautiful new shots of the family in the yearbook. It really takes it to a whole other level. And professional photos will give you yet another perspective because the whole family will be in them. You know, you won't miss one person who's taking the photo. And they're taken from somebody else's viewpoint, right? So it really amps up your content variety. And if you know what photos that you're going to snap every year, then you already have a lot more photos to add to your list of mapped out content. And if you can't afford to hire a professional, go ahead and ask your neighbor or anybody else that you think can get a good photo of your family. All right, so tip number 7, integrate other memories into your yearbook. Photos are always going to be the most obvious ones that you want to include because they're clearly the main memory that you're going to have, but you can also put in memorabilia into your yearbook. So scan your kids' artwork, pull in some favorite quotes, write a letter to yourself, which, by the way, will be super fun to look back on, and maybe a page or two from your diary could make the cut, right? There are lots of ways that you can put memories into your yearbook. They don't necessarily have to be photos. And if you don't have a scanner, go ahead and take a photo of something. That works just fine too. This is a great hack for those months where you have less content to begin with. So don't limit yourself. Be creative and think outside of the box. You can include almost anything in your yearbook. All right, and tip number 8, stick with one vendor. Chances are you already have a really good vendor that you love for creating photo books, but if you don't, you want to pick one right away, and you want to do that at the beginning of the year. And one reason for that is because you want to work on your book throughout the year instead of having everything pile up on your to-do list at the end of the year. And another reason for doing that is because you want to stay consistent in the printing style and the layout of your book. And that way you can repurpose things much faster and work on it more quickly. So pick a quality vendor and stick with them. What would you look for in a quality vendor? Well, you want to make sure that the quality of the book is good. Most of them will have sample books that you can look at. If not, go ahead and make a test project and go ahead and compare. If you're testing with several different companies, you want to make sure that you settle on something that's going to last and that you are happy with in terms of quality and design and layout and function. You also want something that has a really easy to use interface. So even if it's a downloadable software, we want to make sure that it's easy to use. If it's an online service, same thing. The layout should be easy for you to understand. The program should be easy to use. You should be able to preview your book. And of course, shipping should not be too expensive. I also love lay flat pages in a book and really sturdy spines so that I can be sure that the books are going to last long and look good on my shelf. So there are a lot of vendors that I recommend out there. I recommend that you find your own by testing because we all have different opinions on those. But I'm always happy to give you a recommendation if you want to know my taste. So I want you to take a moment and start your yearbook now. Even if it's not at the beginning of the year when you're watching this video, it is not too late. Go ahead and start it now and just have a better plan of action for next year. You still have time to do it this year if you want to, if you incorporate all the tips that I gave you. So I hope you love this video and that it was helpful to you. Take a moment to like it, subscribe to my channel, and if you want more tips and tricks like this, visit me over at organizingphotos.net. Thanks.